Hi, my name is Jason. I'm a member of the Teen Advisory Board for the Howard County Public Library System, and today I'm going to be giving you an intro to the quadratic formula. So the quadratic formula is negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So before we take a look at solving using the quadratic formula, let's take a look at quadratic equations. So quadratic equations must be in standard form. That is, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. All quadratic equations can be written in this form, where a, b, and c are constants, a cannot be 0, and a and b are both coefficients of x. So let's take a look at the shape of a quadratic function, and it is a parabola. That means it goes down and then comes back up. So here are some more examples of quadratic equations. We have 2x squared plus 3x plus 2 equals 0. So a is 2, b is 3, and c is 2. Then we have negative 5x squared minus 7x plus 14 equals 0. So a is negative 5, b is negative 7. We can also look at this as negative 5x squared plus negative 7x. So b would be negative 7, and then c would be 14. Then this third one, x squared plus 2x equals 0. Since there's nothing in front of x, where a should be, we see that a is 1. So a is 1, b is 2, and c also isn't there. So since c is a constant, we say that c is 0. So quadratic functions are different from quadratic equations. So for the first one, a quadratic equation is written as equal to 0. So 2x squared plus 3x plus 2 equals 0. So that's a quadratic equation. But a quadratic function is y equals 2x squared plus 3x plus 2. So what does solving quadratic equations mean? To solve a quadratic equation means to find the point where the parabola crosses the x-axis. This means we need to find where y equals 0. So we need to find where the parabola crosses the x-axis, and so the parabola has the equation y equals x squared plus 5x plus 6. So here we can take a look at the graph, and we see that the parabola crosses the x-axis in between negative 2 and 4 and negative 4 inclusive. So if we take a look at the table of values here, we have the x values and y values. So if we want to take a look at where the parabola crosses the x-axis, that means that the y value is 0. So in the table of values, the y value is 0 at x is negative 3 and at the x value of negative 2. So we can see here that our solutions, or zeros, are negative 3 and negative 2. And that is where the parabola crosses the x-axis. So now let's use the quadratic formula to solve this same equation. So the quadratic formula is negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So we have the same equation here, And since there's nothing in front of x squared, we know that a is 1, then b is 5, and then c is 6. So here we have the values, and we substitute them in the quadratic formula. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So here we have the quadratic equation without the values substituted in, and here we have the quadratic equation once the values have been substituted in. So we have negative 5 plus or minus square root of 5 squared minus 4 times 1 times 6 all over 2 times 1. So we can multiply these numbers out, and we get negative 5 plus or minus square root of 25 minus 24 all over 2. So once we have that, we can simplify further, and we get negative 5 plus or minus square root of 1 all over 2. And since square root of 1 is 1, we have negative 5 plus or minus 1 all over 2. So what does this plus or minus sign actually mean? Well, it means that we have two answers. So we have negative 5 plus 1 over 2 and negative 5 minus 1 over 2. So for negative 5 plus 1 over 2, we do negative 5 plus 1, which is negative 4. Then we divide that by 2, and we get negative 2. Then we have negative 5 minus 1, which is negative 6. And we divide that by 2, and we get negative 3. So therefore, our answers are negative 2 and negative 3. And that checks out when you look at the graph. So now, let's take a look at some examples where we can use the quadratic equation or formula. So here we have some quadratic equations, and let's just take the first one. So we have 2x squared minus 11x plus 14 equals 0, and here we have the quadratic formula. So a is 2, b is negative 11, and c is 14. So let's substitute the values in. So negative b. So if b is negative 11, negative b is just 11. X equals, so we have negative b plus or minus then square root of b squared, so negative 11 squared, so negative 11 squared minus 4 times a times c, so minus 4 times a, which is 2, so minus 4 times 2 times c, which is 14. So then we take the square root of all of this, and then we divide that by 2a, which is 2 times 2, and then we have substituted all the values in. So now let's start to simplify this. We still have 11 plus or minus, but we can simplify the square root. So we have square root of negative 11 squared, which is 121, minus 4 times 2, which is 8, times 14, which is 112. So 112. And then we divide that by 2 times 4, which is 8. So now we can simplify further. I'm going to put it up here. So we still have 11 plus or minus square root of 121 minus 112, which is square root of 9 divided by 8. And we can simplify this even further because square root of 9 is 3. So we have 11 plus or minus 3. Because because the square root of 9 is 3. And so we have 11 plus or minus 3 divided by 8. So the plus or minus is 2 answers. So we have 11 plus 3 over 8. And we also have 11 minus 3 over 8. So 11 plus 3 is 14 over 8. And 11 minus 3 is 8 divided by 8 is 1. So therefore our answers are x equals 14 over 8 and 1. So we have just solved 2x squared minus 11x plus 14 equals 0 using the quadratic equation, or the quadratic formula.